Yeah.
All right. We are going live. Oh, no. What has Zoom done? Uh,
Oh, audio's faded out.
Hugh has disappeared.
Oh,
Hold on.
that's a problem.
We're gonna fix that right now. We're fixing that live for any and all of the folks who are watching live. uh, let's see. How did that happen?
Where am I?
I don't know how that happened. Um,
Oh, oh, you got to actually like position me inside it. That's fun.
yeah, and I don't know how that happened. Oh, I know exactly how that happened. I minimized Zoom, and so you disappeared. But now Zoom is
Sweet.
back,
Well,
so you are back. All right, there we go. Well, hey,
what a
ladies and
great intro.
hey, ladies and gentlemen. This is Matthew Morris with ManaDawn Tabletop Games, and I'm joined by my friend Hugh Lashbrook. Hugh, the world knows you, but say hello.
Hello. My name's Hugh. I'm with 10 Acre Games. Well, I am 10 Acre Games. I like to say I'm with it, but it's just me. Matt and I have been working together for a while on Tiny Tales, Patreon, and stuff to release stuff, Mausritter content and a lot of other things. And yeah, collaborating on Rolling Coast, which we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, I also say with ManaDawn Tabletop Games, but I am ManaDawn Tabletop Games. So,
Yeah.
no, I love it. Well, I don't know. Seem to be. I'm looking at the audio levels, and I might be peaking. So I'm going to turn myself down just a hair. But yeah, what we want to do today, for those who are watching, is we want to go over our campaign. A couple days ago, I did a stream where I went through 15 of the Mouse Ritter Month campaigns, and we did not go over ours. So, Hugh, we're just going to go over Rolling Coast here and can kind of talk about some of the things on the Backerkit, but then we're also going to pull up the actual PDF itself of Rolling Coast, and we will go through some of the things on the PDF. We won't give you all the details, but yeah, we'll go over some of our favorite bits in there. So,
Yep.
Hugh, if you're good, why don't you kind of walk us through what Rolling
Yeah.
Coast is? Where'd Rolling Coast come from? What brought Rolling Coast to life?
So Rolling Coast is we started this idea on this Patreon that we wanted to release a new, like start creating a bigger setting, but just piece by piece as we go. Start off with just one adventure and then, or one settlement even, and then sort of start slowly building it out from there. And we're looking at different sort of scenarios we could do. We spoke about different various options like things that could be in a maybe in a shopping mall or something or that kind of thing. And one thing that I've always enjoyed with Mouse Ritter, with settings that I make and also ones that I like to play, which I think is different to a lot of other people, is I like to play it in like a world where humans are about and around and not like in a sort of post-human world. I quite like that idea. Not that we interact with humans much because as a mouse, there's not really much you can do other than get thrown out the window. But I like that sort of idea that it's like a real living human world and mice are sort of unseen almost in the background. So I really like the idea of Rolling Coast as a working human amusement park, which is what it is, as opposed to a sort of abandoned one. Um, and that's yeah, something I'm really excited about. And it's really fun to create these adventures in this world where humans are doing their thing and mice are sort of scurrying around, and other creatures, as we'll talk about, are sort of scurrying around in the background. And it's been really fun. And we released it sort of one piece a month ish on our Patreon on Tiny Tales until we sort of had it complete digitally, just sort of as individual packages. And this packet is all about kind of combine that all into one package, adding some more stuff that we haven't released on Patreon as well, and then presenting it as this big deluxe box set, which I'm super excited to get my hands on and to get it in everyone else's hands too. Yeah.
Yeah, we are super excited about just this whole campaign and everything that's going. We want to say thank you to all the backers that have helped bring it to life. We funded in the first 5.5 hours, which is super cool. And where we are at right now. Is 447 backers. So thank you to all those who helped bring this to life. Where we sit right now is just over 24,000. So we've doubled our goal, which is awesome. Hugh and I were talking the nights leading into Mausritter Month going live, and we were nervous and we were apprehensive. But y'all have washed away all of our fears, so we are very excited.
Yeah.
Um, so Hugh, I've got up here on the stream um, the actual Backerkit page. And as I look through and scroll on this, is there anything specifically that you want to make sure folks who go to the Backerkit page they don't miss out on, and they see this something specific to
Yeah.
help grab their attention?
I mean, firstly, just that this is part of, you mentioned earlier, Mausritter Month, which I'm sure most people are aware of because it's very clearly like pasted across things. But there's 16 projects, 15 other ones, include alongside Rolling Coast, funding this month as well. So that's, go and check out those as well. 15 of those 16 have fully funded already, which is amazing. And we're only just over 48 hours into the month. So that's really exciting. And there's also combined shipping. So if you back a whole bunch of them, they'll ship together. So you'll pay one shipping cost and you could save $100+ on shipping just because of that, which is fantastic. So that's first thing, because I think that's really important to note. And those other projects are awesome. All Mausritter focused, very exciting, some beautiful artwork and just fascinating ideas going on in there. Just on for our project, I think one thing I think is really exciting is that just how much there is in the setting. Like you can say, oh, it's a setting with a 19 hex crawl. That's nice. But like inside that, we've got 9 adventure sites. Um, we've got we have a stretch goal for creating a new one. If we get there, or did we get to that stretch goal already? I think we did.
Let me just scroll down to the
Yeah,
stretch goals real quick.
yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry.
we unlocked
Oh,
that
we did. Sorry. We
couple
looked at it a while ago.
couple $1,000 ago. Yeah, no, that's exciting.
Yeah. So there's going to be 10 adventures now, not just 9, in the book. 11 all new factions, all really interesting. Some of them competing with each other, some of them more sort of they're just there and can interact with you in stories and narratives, which would make really interesting things. Um, Ton of creatures, some really interesting characters, and I think like the way Matt and I both build a lot of Mausritter stuff, and like where a lot of Mausritter stuff in general is built, is it's very open and sandboxy. So there's no sort of prescribed story that you have to sort of follow. Um, in the individual adventures, there'll be a little bit more direction in terms of story. Like there'll be a fairly obvious sort of thing that needs to be stopped, maybe, or depending on which adventure you're going through. But overall, the players create the story and the narrative as you go. So like we've got, for example, we've got Coolbane, who's a porcupine who dominates the underworld, at the park. And he's quite a scary creature. And in my mind, he's sort of like one of the most dangerous characters in Rolling Coast. But during one game, you might not ever encounter him. You might encounter other villainous characters instead, because there are a good amount of them.
Yeah.
So every game, every table is different, and that's one thing I find really exciting about this. And there's so many opportunities for just very different kinds of things that happen. Um, so yeah, I think that's a lot of stuff that, those are things I really like to call out, just like that open sandbox style, I think is really important. That's what I love about Mausritter, and especially the way, some of the stuff we built. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. That's one thing that Hugh and I both had in common, and it has made this project coming together been really a joy for us to work on together. And we're kind of in our wheelhouse of open world sandbox adventure locations, give some NPCs some adventure, site, and then let the players develop and tell the story as it goes. And so yeah, no railroading. by the product here. This just presents a world that will be just as exciting for game masters as it will be for players. Um, so super excited
Yeah.
about that.
Definitely.
Hugh, you mentioned the stretch goals, and I'm now jumping over to the stretch goals section
Mm.
um, of the page here. We bust through the first stretch goal at 15,000 pretty early on,
Yeah, we did.
and we announced three artists: the amazing Penflower Inc., Bruno Prosacco, and Felipe Faria have all joined the team to bring us some amazing art. Bruno has done some work with myself, and he was a part of the team as well that brought Tomb of a Thousand Doors to life. And so, if you've seen Tomb of a Thousand Doors, Bruno did the character sheets. Bruno did the box set cover art. He did the book and the game master artwork as well. And so, Bruno is going to be bringing us some custom Rolling Coast themed character sheets. But not just character sheets. Bruno's going to be doing mech sheets because one of those adventures that Hugh has written is a mech adventure. Hugh, why don't you just tell us briefly about Gears of Glory and the gearheads and the mechs
Yeah.
under roller
I,
coasters?
yeah, I was pretty excited about this because it's just such a cool idea. And coincidentally, there's another mech-based project in Mausritter Month, which is pretty cool. Um, So one of the adventure sites in Rolling Coast is with a faction called the Gearheads, which are basically like mechanic mice. They build contraptions out of parts, and their place, Sparktown, is underneath the roller coaster, so they can gather parts and build stuff. Um, and one of the things they do is build mechs that mice can pilot, and they're basically a mech. Essentially, is a warband scale creature in a sense. And the stats depend on the parts used to create it. So you have a mech sheet, and you've got your six parts. You've got your head, your torso, your two arms, and your two legs, all different parts. And we have item cards for all of those. And then you can create your own ones as well. Like you think of something cool from some part you found, you can just create it. It looks exactly like a normal Mouse River item card, so you can create your own easily. Um, and each one has various stats associated with it. That's all explained in the rules, but it's basically you would get a mech with certain stats, and then there's rules for PvP or 1v1 battles, so you can actually battle your fellow players as mechs, which is similar to another module in Rolling Coast where you can do normal, I was going to say human to human battles, but mouse to mouse battles, where you can battle each other as players, which is pretty fun. Similar kind of rules, and it all works really smoothly. And then you can even take your mechs outside of the arena and just cruise the park in them and go take on Coolbane, the porcupine, as a warband, because then you'll be a warband scale creature. You can actually do that, which is pretty exciting. There's some limitations to how they work, and how they take damage, and parts can get damaged and that kind of thing. But it's yeah, there's a lot of very cool stuff going on there that I'm super excited about. And yeah, that the mech stuff is one of my favorite little parts of this, almost like a mini game within it. Um, yeah, that's very, very cool.
It was a interesting challenge for me. One of the things with Rolling Coast is um, I think Hugh early on challenged me to stretch even my artistic skills, um, and so I've done a lot of the artwork interior for this, and trying to come up with these mechs that didn't look just like a copied robot with a mouse in it, but actually that is using just pretty much garbage found at a park. It was very challenging, but I'm pretty proud with some of the things that I came up with. But we've got one here. I don't know that we have a name for it, but it's a cola can with a teddy bear head and a baseball flail arm, and yeah,
If,
good
if you
stuff.
scroll a bit down in the book there, because you got the PDF open, if you
Yeah, yeah.
scroll a bit down there, there's a page with what the mech sheet looks like,
Mm,
and the some of the items you can get for it. Just we got it printed in the book as a sort of reference, but those items will be available
yeah, there we
with the
go.
item cards in the box set as well.
Yeah.
So just as a sort of example of what that kind of thing looks like. That's the mech sheet that we created.
Yeah.
But obviously, we got artists working on other stuff, and we'll have new ones designed, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
No, it's gonna be super cool. And like Hugh mentioned, there is spots where you are able to make your own items. If you'd like to build the mech. And so this would be another opportunity to, and another really incentive and reason to back Mausritter over on Backerkit. Because you could
Yeah.
likely take the stickers that come with that and even make your own. Combine the two supplements together to see what crazy kind of mechs that you can make. And so definitely a shout out to the folks who are bringing Mausritter.
Yeah, I'm excited for that one.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the second stretch goal that we broke through. Hugh, this is one that I know you and I were both excited about. But at $18,000, we unlocked the digital collection of all of the Tiny Tales Patreon content, which is a
Yeah.
massive PDF bundle.
Yeah, so I mean, you mentioned Tiny Tales already, which is sort of the where Rolling Coast began. And we produced this Rolling Coast setting in that. And since Rolling Coast is sort of the initial stuff was completed in there, we've been releasing a whole bunch of other, like, everything is sort of standalone pieces of content. Almost all of it for Mausritter. There's one or two things that are sort of kind of can be for any kind of tabletop system, including Mausritter. But most of it is Mausritter specific. And it's NPCs, so characters with stats and backstories and details and quirks and depending on the character, lots of different things. There's a whole bunch of D66 tables. So those tables are 36 items on just a variety of things. I've got like jobs in Mausritter, traditions, ways a quest can go wrong, which is quite a cool one if you're trying to come up with ideas like that. One that's actually coming out next week is flying contraptions for Mausritter with something that can go wrong with them. That's going to be next week's release. And there's one trifold adventure pamphlet. We're going to be doing more, but we've done one so far. And then also items. So like generally magical kind of items, but interesting and unique items that you can use in any Mausritter game. You can just, they're not system specific. They're not rolling coast specific. You can use them in, oh, sorry, not setting specific rather. You can use them in any game. And now at the 18, now that we've gone through the 18K stretch goal, everything we've published so far, and that we will publish up to the end of Mausritter month, so up to the 4th of December, which is when we'll be publishing one more on that day, because we do it once a week. We will send to all of our backers. And so that'll be 28 individual things. So items, characters, tables, and that one adventure map, adventure location. So all 28 of those will go to all backers, which is super exciting. I'm excited about that. It's just great content to add out your table and make your worlds more interesting.
Yeah, it is. It is a massive value add to get all of these. And Hugh, just a massive shout out to you. Just the way in which you write these tables. It's there's just some unique and exciting things here. And so there's there's a bunch of the D66 tables that are going to be in the book, but there are also the D66 tables above and beyond that are part of this. So that's pretty exciting. Um,
Yeah.
so $20,000, we are adding more pages to the book. The reason why it is 6 pages is because the way we've been releasing this on our Patreon and our Tiny Tales community is we've been releasing them as the A5 trifold adventures that you would see in the Mausritter box set with Honey in the Rafters and the Estate and in Junk City. So we've been releasing them as those trifolds just digitally, but when we translate them over to a book with spreads, it's going to be a total of 6 pages with a brand new adventure with new and fresh art in a place that we haven't really explored in the amusement park yet. So Hugh, what are some of those thoughts that we have rolling in our mind? And this might even be a live brainstorm because we've both thrown some ideas back and forth. And so if you're on
Yeah.
the stream, like if you're on the stream catching this live, or if you watch it back, you may even watch Hugh and I develop the adventure right here.
Yeah. So one cool thing about rolling coasters, we've got these 9 adventure sites, but there's a ton of hooks throughout it. Because we've got 3 settlements where players can explore and sort of spend some downtime or not, and each of those has a bunch of characters within them, a bunch of locations, and a bunch of adventure hooks and things. So there's a ton that's just already there that we could flesh out into adventures. There's one that I'm really intrigued by. I quite like the idea of. I'll open it up here to see if I can refresh my memory of the one I like, the one I particularly like. they're all pretty cool. It's about fairies kidnapping mice
Yeah,
because we have in the forest we've said there's a portal to the fairy realm there. Just we've just said that in the hex scroll, but fairies haven't shown up in anything we've written so far, except for uh, so one of the places in Snackburg, which is sort of kind of the main friendly settlement where you'll probably start a lot of adventures. There's a place called the Spicy Rooster, which is a little restaurant. And the adventure hook here just says nutmeg barley wine at the Spicy Rooster mentioned a lone frog seen stalking the food court. As soon as it was seen, rumors of mice being kidnapped by fairies began. Are they connected? And that's just an adventure hook that anyone can pick up and do something with, which is one of the sort of open-ended things I really like about all of this. But that hook in particular, I've just been intrigued by that since we wrote it, and I've just sort of, I think we should do something cool with that. But there's tons of others as well. That's sort of the one that's kind of been circling around my head as something we can do something with. But because fairies are always interesting, they're sort of overly powerful, but in a sort of unique and quirky, not quirky, dangerous, uh, kind of playfully dangerous kind of way. And that's always really interesting to play around with in terms of structuring an adventure. But yeah, I mean, there's so many others here. This
yeah.
is just something that jumps out at me.
I totally like the idea of this one. The idea of a lone frog. One of the things that Mausritter had in its original bestiary was frog errants. So these like lone frog knights that are just wandering the world, and I like to think that's what's happening here. I wrote a solo. Standalone game, but it could augment Mausritter to play Mausritter solo called Frog Errant, where you actually play as one of these lone frogs. Um, and so I think when we were writing these adventure hooks, I had in my mind some sort of like crossover where you could do like a solo frog adventure. But
Cool.
now, just the way my head canon works, because I'm a completionist in the way I see the Mausritter third party and official stuff. I'm like, they all exist within the same world, so how can we like build these different releases together? And I think it's so cool that the official Mausritter release from Isaac and Andre, published by Exalted Funeral, it is in kind of a junkyard, in the
Mm.
like the dusty, dirty part of a city, and there's fairy activity going on. And so I think in my head canon, in the actual hex map of Rolling Coast, which I should mention that is getting a full overhaul by Fernando Salvatierra, who's done
Yeah.
amazing artwork. But in the actual hex map here, down in Region 13 and Hex 13, we have a rubbish dump, which there's a fight club that exists there, which is super cool. Hugh wrote these awesome PvP one versus one character brawl. So super cool there. But like, I like to think in my mind that maybe Junk City just exists one or two hexes down, and so all the mystery that's happening
Yeah.
in Junk City with Fairy, if you play a long form campaign at your table, you could play Junk City and go straight to Rolling Coast. You could play Rolling Coast and then work your way down to Junk City. But maybe even there's some sort of like fairy kidnapping. Because fairies are just cool. They're also terrifying. I think Isaac
Yeah.
posted.
Terrifying in an interesting way, not only just like super strong and gonna just kill you with one shot sort of way, but in a way that like can really change your game completely.
Yeah,
Like I've written stuff for fairies, like in the Kiwi Acre setting, it's set in New Zealand and there's the sort of a Maori legend that I've sort of, substituted in for fairies and that, and same kind of thing. And they're just interesting curses and stuff you can get. So it's not just like, oh, you'll meet a fairy and they'll kill you, which could happen, but they'll more likely curse you with something really interesting or make some like weird deal with you that you sort of have to go through, and you've got to do something that you don't want to do, but you kind of have to do it. And it's just really interesting to play with that kind of thing, and to sort of changes expectations for what a sort of combat encounter looks like.
right.
Um, I think it's really cool. Also, one of the things you mentioned about the waste dump in the hex scroll in one of the forest hexes, because you sort of got three down the side of the park, we mentioned that the waste dump is encroaching on the forest and killing the trees there.
Mm-hmm.
It's a throwaway line in the hex map. But I mean, incorporating that into could be quite cool. Like maybe the fairies are kidnapping mice because they're trying to get get revenge on them for messing up their forest or something. I don't know.
Oh, I like that. I
You know,
like that.
like
Yeah.
we could sort of incorporate some of those things into each other, which sounds really interesting. Again,
Yeah.
we might do this, do something different, but that's sort of my mind circling through that kind of stuff right now.
Oh, yeah, I really like that. I really like that. Yeah, there was a part of me as I was kind of like laying down thinking about this, trying to fall asleep the other night, um, knowing that I was probably going to wake up and that stretch goal was going to be broken, and I we had talked about potentially putting an adventure in the log ride hex because that one didn't have anything
Yeah.
other than Quillbane. Like his hideout is beneath that, but like
Yeah.
you had mentioned the thing about the fairies and the Spicy Rooster restaurant and that adventure hook, and it got me thinking. I was like, maybe there's the portal to the Fey realm like out in the forest, but maybe there's also one up in like the very top of the log ride, and so it could actually be like a teleport. You could jump from the forest to the log ride back and forth, and so like
Oh, that's cool.
I had in my mind like you somehow team up with this like frog knight, you go off into the forest, you find the kidnapped mice, you jump through the portal, and you end up in the top of the log ride. And then like you have to get in, and you do almost, and it would have to come up with mechanics, but like kind of like one of those video game chases where you're being chased, and like there's fairies in the log behind you, and you're trying to get to the bot, and then like maybe you
Cool.
strike a deal with the gearheads, and like they're there with mechs ready to like fight off the fairies, but so like some sort of like snatch and grab heist, but you're like saving the mice children that have been kidnapped. And so I don't know how we would actually put that into 6 pages,
I
but
like good. I like a good chase in a tabletop game. It's difficult to create mechanically in a way that's sort of satisfying to play, but it's really interesting when it's done well.
yeah.
So yeah, I'd be open to that.
All
I
right.
mean, yeah, these are the good ideas. We'll
We'll
definitely figure this.
we'll put our
But it's
we'll
going to be in the book.
yeah, it's gonna be in the book. So no, I love it. I love it. Well, speaking of the book, I actually have it pulled up here, and you aren't able to see it in real time. I think on you'll see it on YouTube with just a little bit of lag. There's probably a way I can share my screen, but that would probably mess up all of the presets here in OBS. So,
Yeah.
um, but you have the PDF on your computer as well. So if I tell you
Yep.
what page we're on, and
Yes.
ask you to kind of talk about it. So let's just jump to page 3, which is where we are introduced a little bit to the park. But we're also introduced to something that is, I think, really unique amongst TTRPG books. Something I really haven't seen done before, but I absolutely love it. It's something that we kind of did in Tomb of a Thousand Doors visually. So, like the characters on the cover art, they were the same characters that appeared in every bit of spot art throughout the book. So, like this was the story of Tomb of a Thousand Doors. But what you've done here is there's also a narrative story that flows through this. So
Yeah.
why don't you explain?
This has actually been quite a fun thing, and I really need to get back to it on Tiny Tales. So on the Tiny Tales community, we've got the Patreon and we've got a forum, which is where we actually post everything. So if you sign up on Patreon, you get access to the members only stuff in the forum. But one of the things on the forum, which isn't members only, it's public, I've just called it an ongoing adventure. And it's basically an adventure, essentially playing through within Rolling Coast. So I first rolled up a bunch of characters and I got people to vote on which ones they like best. And we picked one of them. The character's called Erid Grant. It's a name I got from the rule book. Erid? I'm saying Erid. I don't know if it's Erid, but Erid is how my headcanon, how it's pronounced. And he's a merchant and he's got a pack rat hireling who carries stuff for him. And basically, he arrived at Rolling Coast and got attacked, and all his stuff was taken by the pack rats. Not related to his pack rat, that's just coincidence. Pack Rats Gang, which is one of the factions in Rolling Coast. And then what I did on Tiny Tales was I wrote a bunch of the story, which was super fun, just writing a little short story, which is really cool. And then when it got to a point where a decision had to be made, got people to vote on it. So this is what could happen. Here's some two, three, four options, whatever is relevant, and people vote. And then I take whatever gets the most votes after a week or so, and I wrote the next bit of the story, and then carried on doing that for a while. It's been a little while since I've got back to that story, so I really need to get back to it. There's been an open poll there for a while for the next step, which I need to get to. But what I did is took that story as it was written and put it in the book. So you'll see on the page alongside the intro there's the first bit, and it's kind of continued throughout the book. The second page after that, there's the next bit, and then later on, kind of alongside most of the title pages, and then at other bits, it's all in the when it's a full page of italics. The story's continuing, so it's sort of easy to visually see as you go. And it's just a story, a narrative, with people, character, not people, mice, uh, and characters interacting, and there's some combat in it. There's some fun dice rolls, which was pretty cool. And yeah, it's like basically playing a solo game and journaling how it's going on. But it was really fun to do, and I want to actually get back to the story. It's just time to write that narrative takes a while, and I haven't found that time. Um, but yeah, that's in the book, so you can read that as a story. Just skip to each of those pages and just read it as you go, and I think it's really cool to have that included. It doesn't mean you have to play your game that way, because that's just one way of playing it. Like we said, it's just open sandbox, and honestly, it evolved as I went. I don't have a plan for what's going to happen next. I've sort of just been figuring it out as I go. So there's not like this is the story I want to tell. It's more just let's kind of see what happens and what I think is cool, and then what people vote for affects things quite a lot. The story changes quite a lot based on that. So yeah, that's what that is, and I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. It is super cool for someone like myself who likes to play solo role playing games. It's fun because you're not only the game master, but you're the player. But you have no control if you truly leave it up to the dice to be the arbiters of everything. It's actually really fun, the stories that develop and unfold, and they unfold in a way that you couldn't even imagine. And so it's so cool. And so to watch that story unfold over in the community and now seeing it here in the book is super awesome. Hugh,
Yeah,
let's jump to page 5 in the PDF. The hex map, the hex crawl there. We've got
yeah,
19. We've got 19 hexes. Again,
very cool stuff going on in there. Yeah,
yeah. Sal is doing the art, which is super cool. One of the things when Hugh and I first decided that we were going to do an amusement park, we kind of had this idea that we weren't going to do the trifold. Do you remember this, Hugh? We weren't going to do trifold adventures. We were going to do one page dungeons or adventures, and on one side it was going to be the adventure at day, and then you could flip the page and it was the adventure at night. And
yeah,
the setting would alter a little bit. There would be like these
yeah,
augmented things, and we ended up not doing that, partially because it was a lot more work, but also there wasn't as much variance as we thought there would be. Um, but we kept kind of the spiritual predecessor to that in the park map here, where we have daytime encounters and evening encounters, because as Hugh mentioned earlier, this is a fully functional amusement park that has humans by day. Um, but at night the park is closed, and so depending on when your mice go out to adventure, it's gonna be a lot different. So at nighttime, you might run into Quillbane, the big bad boss, and all sorts of things could go down there. But if it's daytime, the porcupine isn't going to be roaming the park, but the park's going to be teeming with toddlers. And so there's an encounter for your mouse to even get picked up by a toddler. And like,
yeah. The toddler is super cool. It's honestly, it's kind of like fairies in the sense that it's just this crazy thing that is just so different to anything else you'd encounter. Further on in the creatures section, we've got a D6 table for toddler actions, basically. There's no interactions with like adult humans because they'll sort of ignore a mouse. But like a toddler would be like, oh, come and play with the little animal. And we've got a D6 table of actions, which I mean, all of them are terrifying for a mouse. Like all of the things that a toddler could do to you are like awful. Uh, and it's fascinating. It's one of my favorite little. It's just one of the interactions, one of the encounters you could roll on if you get it or not. But it's such a cool little thing that it's just okay. This is like just a sudden encounter, but it's absolutely chaotic for your game.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's very cool.
Oh man, I love it. I love it. Well, let's maybe look at some of the. Gosh, I just want to show everyone everything. And if you want to see
Uh,
everything that's like in the book already, just go join our Patreon because you'll see all the contents.
yeah,
It'll be laid out differently, but the content is there. Um, But
Yeah, so as we publish it on Patreon, it's all separate modules which you can download as PDFs. So the layout obviously changed for the book, and we've added some stuff in the book that isn't there. But
mhm.
most of the stuff there is in the book. I think there's one additional faction in the book that hasn't been published there. There's some additional creatures, and a few other things. And obviously, this new adventure that we're going to have isn't in the book at all, isn't published yet at all.
Yeah.
And then a couple other small things. But yeah, you can go have a look at most of that content now if you join the Patreon.
Yeah, and actually, Hugh, that's something that we haven't talked about yet. Those that new adventure, is that going to be Backerkit book exclusive, or is that going to be for our Tiny Tales community as well?
Like making a Backerkit book exclusive would be good.
Yeah, I kind of
You
like
know,
that. I kind of
I
like
like
that.
that idea. So it's like this is just for because you backed it on Backkit, you get this. Otherwise,
Yeah,
and then maybe in the future we can do that. I don't know.
yeah.
Haven't thought about that yet, but that's a very good question.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. Well, on page 8, we've got some of the factions, and this has so many factions. And
So that's
one
a new faction.
yeah, one of the things that Hugh has done with the layout here in the book that is super cool is we've got um, a list of the factions, but then one of the more main factions gets its own like blowout, and it's entire page where you have different variants of like the foot soldiers of XYZ faction. You've got potentially spells. So like here we've got the pack rats, and the pack rats, they're not just all vanilla rats. There's D6 variety to these rats, and there's all sorts of fun little spells that if you roll up the trash caster, which is like this pack rat wizard, he's got some trash spells.
Yeah, that's very cool. I mean, writing that kind of thing is really fun because I enjoy, I mean, we collaborated on all of this content, and I
Hmm.
think writing those, I really enjoy writing, I enjoy writing tables in general, which is why those D66 tables are so much fun. But this kind of thing, coming up with spells, but spells that are like themed
Hmm.
is just really interesting and fun and quite unique, I think, because then you get like, it's not just, oh, magic missile, which is fun and explosive, but like it's sort of generic magic in a way. I like spells that are like, we've got a theme, in this case, trash. Well, how can we make spells that are like relevant to that? And then on the next page, we've got another faction that we did the sort of blowout page for is the Gearheads, which I mentioned. We make the mechs and stuff. They've got a similar thing. They've got six variants, and one of them is a spark mage, and then there's four sort of kind of mechanical electricity based spells,
Hmm.
which are really interesting. So yeah, I love that kind of thing.
Yeah, and as a GM and as a player, like this is the kind of thing too where if you get this and you can read this book, you could almost like flip through it and ask your game master as a player, be like, "Hey, I want to roll up a mouse from the Mausritter rules, but could maybe he be a former gearhead?" And then if your game master is a game master like me, I'd say go for it, and then just like roll
Yeah,
on the gearheads table, and okay, this is what your background is, and so you might even be able to be a spark mage to start off, a little bit less powerful spark mage, but so there's just a whole lot of opportunity in here.
I
Um,
like that you said your attitude as a GM is to say, yeah, do it. That's mine too. Like when I play a game with anyone, whether it's with my kids, which is who I often play with, or other people, like, and they say, oh, can I do this? I'm like, yep, you can.
I love
I
that.
mean, there might be some limitations. Maybe you'll have to, maybe there'll be more chance of a miscast on a spell if you're a novice spark mage or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
But, yes, you can do it. There might be consequences, but yes, you can.
I
That's
love
sort
it.
of always been my attitude, especially with Mouse Red, and I love that. It's just so much fun.
Yeah. Well, speaking of consequences, I'm on page 12, which is the beginning of the bestiary. Um, and there are some consequential encounters that you could run into. And we've got
Yeah.
whether it's a feral cat or a snack golem, which,
The snack column. Oh, I love just the idea of it. I'm like, this is so cool. We have to put this in. I
yeah.
think I think I sort of had the idea and I sent it to you. I said snack column. I just said that, and you're like, yes,
Yeah, yeah.
do that.
And I
And
think
you drew
pretty
the art.
quickly, yeah, pretty quickly I drew this.
And part of the art we're getting paper minis, character standees that Penflower Inc. is doing,
Hmm.
which is we're
Hmm.
very excited about. And that's going to be some of the creatures and characters, and one of them is going to be a snack golem. So we'll actually have some new art for that as well, which I'm very excited about. But yeah, the idea of a golem made of discarded snacks, I mean, that's just awesome.
Yeah.
So, I'm yeah. I'm super excited for that. Just the idea of that was just sounded so cool. And I love things that just sound fun, you know?
Yeah. No, this is so good. So yeah, we've got the creatures that you can run into in the park. We've got some of the big bads, but then there's a zoo, and I think the Ironwood Reserve? Is that is
Yeah,
that yeah.
I planned like a whole nother setting I was gonna build, which I just haven't had time to do. I've got some sketch notes for it, so maybe at some point. For this Ironwood Wildlife Reserve, which is like an abandoned zoo. And that's actually the zoo that's on the one hex on to the west of Rolling Coast, and it's going to be there. So that's Ironwood Wildlife Reserve. It's named in the hex map, but no other name for it. And it's named here on the zoo escapees page. So these are animals that have escaped from this abandoned zoo and are running wild inside Rolling Coast. And you could encounter them at any point. We don't have any specific adventures that feature them, but the cool thing is, it's you can just roll, have them show up as you're going.
Yeah, no, it's good. Uh, Down on page 15, we're introduced to Corvessa and Corbin. Not allies by any means, but both equally powerful in their own right. Two different magic using creatures that you could encounter. You could potentially team up with. You could become one of their thralls or join their forces or battle against them. But these ones were super fun to develop and come up with. And like
Yeah.
Hugh was saying, writing um, themed spells is really fun. So there is all sorts of cool stuff with Corbin and Corvessa, and some of the spells that they just innately know. I know for sure with Corbin, some of his mice followers, known as the Foot of Corbin, they've actually etched some of these spells, and so in one of the adventures, you can find some of these Corbin spells. I think one of them is Hydroblast or Hydro Cannon, and then there's Air Bubble, which is also one that's really cool and comes in handy if you have to swim.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, those are really fun. And we have actually an adventure that features each of those characters. So there's Bubbling Tower of the Fountain Mage, which is where basically where Corbin lives. There's a whole it's like a sort of tower adventure that Matt wrote that, and that's fantastic. Really, really interesting mechanics and spells and things there. And there's another adventure where you encounter in the forest Corvessa and her coven of Corvids. I like alliteration, so yeah.
Yeah.
Corvus in the Coven of Corvids, and that's they're in the forest, and Corvus is basically trying to become like the most powerful magic user in Rolling Coast, and you got to stop her or join her if you like. That's the open-ended thing about it. You can do whatever you want. You can become a servant of Corvus if you like. Who knows? And again, like theme spells for each of them, Corvus's spells, as you can see, they're all sort of based around flight or something in that, or that kind of way. And then Corbin spells are mostly based around water and that kind of thing. And yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah, one of the things that I really liked about the um, Corvessa and her coven, doing the artwork for that adventure. I wanted to try something with the map, and so there's this point crawl that you can do on the map. But I was learning how to do like digital art, and so I drew multiple layers. So we made it in such a way that, and I think they'll be available in the PDFs for everyone who backs this digitally, but you could show your players just kind of this image that looks like an overgrown bramble with a tree, but then you can like take away a layer and you're in it just a little bit more, and then you take away another layer and you actually see this like what used to be like a nice stone bench around an oak tree and some like a lamp post or whatnot, but it was all overgrown. But inside these brambles is where the coven meets and everything, and so it was fun artistically to try and do some things. And all those layers aren't present in the book, but they'll be available as the PDF. Awesome. Well, let's not reveal too much, but we talked about Snackburg a little bit, and another one of the many places you could go is the city of Wheeltop, which Wheeltop
Really
was, yeah, Wheeltop was really cool. Um, it was one that Hugh and I had the idea for like at the very beginning. but it was one of the last ones that we wrote. But the idea is that there is a derelict Ferris wheel that is no longer operational by the humans. It's more just like the landmark of Rolling Coast. But there's a group of mice that have been prophesying that one day the wheel will begin to spin again. And they've actually started a whole church, and there's a cult. And one of the things when we were writing the settlement and the adventure, I was inspired by Morkborg, and they have this countdown, this doom clock, and so Hugh and I put together this doom clock that you'll roll on all these different things, and it's not just specific to the Wheeltown setting; it's really to the entire setting,
Yeah.
because
Just this, like I said, yeah, this dooms clock as you go. You roll at the beginning of each session. If you get a certain number on your roll, like the clock sort of ticks further forward, and eventually, it builds up and builds up as this Fellowship of the Everlasting Wheel, as we've called them, this faction that wants to get the wheel turning again. They slowly get closer and closer to their goal, and it has huge ramifications for the park and the politics and a whole bunch of stuff. And it just gets progressively worse. Because in Wheeltop, one of the things that's there is essentially the government of the park.
Mhm.
I mean, pretty loose because you got Porcupine like Quillbane running around, but and the pack rats and whatever. But that's sort of where trade sort of starts, and there's a whole bunch of stuff going on there. So as that gets further and further along, and if you get to the end of this countdown to disaster, we've called it, um, that eventually can get destroyed, and then everything changes in the park, which is really exciting. And that's sort of out of the player's control, or out of the GM's control. Even you just roll the dice and see what happens, which is wonderful. I love that. And it's just this really exciting sort of extra stuff that's going on while you're doing your other stuff in the park.
No, I love it. I love it. We've got some more countdowns in here. Well, let me just scroll down one more page, because Hugh, one of your family members, did some of the fun artwork for the residents of Wheeltop.
Yeah, that was my daughter, Rachel. She did some of that, which is quite fun. She actually illustrated a character that's on the Tiny Tales Patreon as well. So that's just some fun little extra, nice little mousy art there.
Yeah, and actually on the next page, Hugh hired his daughter. I don't know if you hired her, but she drew some of the artwork. But I reached out to my brother, who is an engineer, and I said, "Hey, can you draw some isometric stuff for us?" And so my brother actually did the artwork for the Pack Rats hideout. And that was fun to be able to recruit my brother to do some stuff, and he did some of the artwork for the Pack Rat leaders, which was fun. Um, yeah, let's see. Here's the section of the book, the adventure locations, and I'm gonna just scroll through these because this is the stuff that we don't want to show you because this is why you want to buy the book, so you have all of it. But we've got an adventure in a fountain. We've got an adventure location that takes place in a medic ambulance. There's a really interesting mouse there. We've got a brawl at the waist dump.
Something I'm quite excited about with that medic one, something I'm quite excited about, and it's just because I love tables of things, like kind of long tables.
Mm,
There's the Alchemaus, who's an alchemist who's creating these dangerous potions using human medicines, essentially, which is pretty cool.
yeah.
And there's a table of D20 potion effects. So during the adventure, you can find a potion, and then you roll on the table to see what it is. But mechanically how it works is you don't tell the players because they've got no way of knowing.
Hmm.
So they have a potion, the GM, what it's going to do, but the players don't. And that they can choose some of them are positive, some are negative, some are just really fun and narrative. And yeah, I just love that kind of thing, like a table of that sort of thing. I find that really exciting and I love it. As a GM, it's super fun to play with that as well. So
Oh, that's too good. That's too good. One thing, as I scroll down to the next page, the brawl at the waist dump. One thing you may have noticed if you've been watching is we've got the hex that the location actually takes place in, delineated there in clear. One of the things that we did before we launched the Kickstarter is we sent a copy of this to Playful Void, who does reviews of RPGs. They've reviewed some of my Mausritter things. They've reviewed some of Hugh's Mausritter things, and so it was an opportunity for us to get some like feedback. There was some really positive things. There were some maybe less positive things, but constructive things that were said. And what was cool was this isn't produced or published yet, and so we got to take some of the feedback that Playful Void wished we would have had and put it directly in as proof of concept that getting a review can help make the product better. And so, Hugh, why don't you just talk briefly about that?
Yeah, so I mean, one of the big things there is, like you said, at the beginning of each adventure, you can see which hex it takes place in. It's sort of labeled there, hex in the Brawl of the Waste Dump, hex 13, which helps sort of orientate you where you are in the park. And then also throughout, you even see it in the text on this page, and this is throughout the whole book now. It took a while to go through everything, and we need to review it to make sure we haven't missed any spots. But anytime like a faction is mentioned, or a character is mentioned, or a creature, or anything that you see this thing mentioned, but you're not sure what it's about or what its stats are or more details about it. There's just a page reference number. So you can say, oh, that's on page 21. Let me just quickly flick there. Oh, okay. That's the pack rats. This is what their faction's about. Okay, let me get back to this adventure now. And it's throughout it. You'll see a whole bunch just on this page alone. But it's throughout the whole book. And that's one of the things that came out mentioned in the review. And actually, I've had a review on Playful Void before for Whiskers in the Wind, which is a setting I created. And I actually got the same feedback there about that. So I added page references into that one. And just, it just makes so much sense, I think, to do it. And it makes it much easier to navigate the book, especially if you've got a physical book. Um, Flipping between pages can be difficult and annoying. You don't want to have to like bookmark stuff, but having page reference numbers for just everything helps a lot, I think.
Yeah, and our game plan is to make these hyperlinked on the PDF so that if you have the PDF version, you can just click and boom, you're there, and then you can go right back. So that'll be super cool. But yeah, not only do we have adventures in a waste dump, we've got an adventure that takes place within the walls of an abandoned snack shack, and to the town of Old Pantryville. This is one that was really fun to work on. It's a depth crawl, so the deeper you go, the wilder things get, and it's almost like board game like, trying to like once you get to a certain level and you're going to have to escape. There is almost like a mechanic to work yourself around to escape from Old Pantryville. Um, we've had a adventure with dark magic confronting the coven deep within the woods. We've got Iron Quill himself, Quillbane, an infiltration into his lair, which is a cool adventure there. And Hugh and I are not short on our countdowns because we have the countdown crisis. This is there's a clock tower in the middle of the pavilion, and this one is actually like time bound on the year. There's a New Year's festival going, and there's all sorts of espionage that's going to go down. And when the clock strikes, so you gotta it's a race against time. So I think that one this
Something that's quite cool, a quite cool little extra mechanic in this Countdown Crisis one. Um, there's some extra characters which I think are very interesting. But one of the little mechanics we did is that this kind of countdown to midnight, and the idea is that the clock tower bell hammers disappeared, and you got to figure it out. I won't reveal all the story, but there's stuff going on there. And if the clock tower doesn't chime at midnight for New Year's, the humans are going to tear it down, and then all these creatures will lose their home, which is inside the clock tower. So the closer it gets to midnight, the more tense everyone gets. And in the core Mausritter book, there's a reactions table for like how do creatures react to you? Are they friendly or hostile, and things in between. So as it gets closer to midnight, you roll on the reactions table, and for every hour it is closer, you add two to your roll, and the more that's added to your roll, the more potentially hostile the creatures are. So it's sort of this countdown to every creature you encounter might end up being hostile, when if you had encountered them 2 hours earlier, they wouldn't have been. So that's a really interesting mechanic within that, and that I'm really excited about as well.
I love it. I love it. The next one is the Gears of Glory, which we've mentioned before, which is this mech battle, which is super cool. And then Hugh and I are both game masters that like to experience the thrill of the unknown alongside of our players. And so we've
Yeah.
got these depth crawls that are changing. We've got these countdown clocks that make the world alive. The last adventure that we have in the book currently, before the new one we're going to write, is Descent into Madness, which is a sewer dungeon that is ever changing and ever evolving. One of the things that we're going to have are these dungeon tiles. We've got a whole deck of dungeon tiles that every time you delve into this dungeon, your players will actually be able to draw that tile, and they have different ways that you can go, either north, south, east, or west, and you'll actually start building this dungeon on your table visually. But then when you leave the dungeon, you scoop it all back up, shuffle them all up, and it might be a different dungeon the next time you go in, just because of the randomness of the sewers and the ever-flowing sludge. And so this is a wild adventure, and so I'm very
Yeah,
excited
there's
to.
20 different there's 20 different rooms. You don't even have to roll for them. You could roll if you want because they're all numbered, but you just have them in a little pile and you just have them upside down, and players can actually pull one out of the pile. So it's not even the GM. Just you can't like stack rig the deck. You
Right,
just let
right.
players figure out what happened. And interestingly, just as a little bit of backstory in my head, how what inspired this idea for me was there's, which I'm sure many people I'm sure have played, is called Munchkin. It's a card game, tabletop role-playing game based game, very super fun, lighthearted, great game. There's a version of Munchkin called Munchkin Quest, which is like a board game version of it, which I got many, many years ago. And that's this idea where every time you go into a new room, you pull a dungeon tile out of the box and you put it down, and that's the room you're in. And in Munchkin Quest, there's like 50 of them, and they're double-sided, so you can have twice the amount. So we don't have as many as that, but that's the idea that sort of inspired this for me. So you lay down a room, and then you take out other tiles for like which way out of this room can I travel, and that kind of thing. And it's yeah, really interesting. And the cool thing about it, those dungeon tiles come with the item cards, so on the item sheets, and they're basically the same size as a 2x2 item. So they're like, little square ones like that. But they're printed on the item card. So you have physical ones available to you. You'll also get the PDF to print them if you need to. But yeah, it's really interesting. And yeah, very, very cool. I love, interesting ideas like this that just add more randomness. It's really cool. So as a GM, you can sort of look at the rooms, but like preparing how people are going to go through it is impossible because it's going to be different every time they do. And I find that really exciting. As a GM, I love that. I love that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
maybe not all GMs do, but I do.
Oh, I do too. To, when someone says there's not a right way to run your game, I agree, but I also disagree. There is. It's all about chaos and fun. But
The wrong way to run your game is if your players aren't having fun.
exactly,
Then you're doing,
exactly. And if you as a
yeah.
GM aren't having fun, uh, something's wrong. You
Yeah.
mentioned items and all the random items. The last couple pages of the book are just full of all these unique items that are very park specific. And we've
Yeah.
got this is just the tip of the iceberg. What's in the book versus what actually um, you're gonna get. So there's items in the item section of the book, and then there's some items mentioned throughout the adventures that don't have artwork in the actual book. But every single item that's mentioned in the book, if I remember correctly, we have illustrated. And so I think there's a
You got
total.
item sheets.
Yeah, we've
Yeah,
got.
there's item sheets for them. We're going to have 9 item sheets in the
Hmm.
box set.
Hmm.
Actually, maybe another one because we're writing another adventure. Depends
Yeah,
what items come out of that. We'll
yeah,
see. So hopefully it'll all fit inside the box because those item sheets are a bit thick. So we'll see. But yeah, every single item that's here on these pages at the back of the book and within all the adventures is you get item cards for. So in addition to all the items within the adventures, the ones at the back of the book can show up anywhere in the park. During adventures, sometimes they're specifically mentioned in an adventure. Go roll on that, that table for an item. But sometimes you can just find them when you're exploring, because why not? Yeah.
yeah. No, so good, so good. Well, we're right about an hour on the stream. Um, just a couple other things to mention when it comes to Rolling Coast. Um, the book is not all you get. The item sheets is not all you get. The product itself is an entire box set that is full of the book, maps, item sheets, paper standees, so the paper minifigs, the dungeon tiles, and then we also have a 68-page zine that I was able to do a lot of the artwork on, a lot of the writing, and I did this with my brother-in-laws, and this is separate to Tiny Tales. But when Hugh and I were putting this together, the hex crawl, that the hex map that's there, we needed to fill some spaces, and we had a shopping center, strip mall kind of location, and a neighborhood that was being torn down so they could build new apartment complexes, and it just fit with the setting. So we added it to the hex map. Well, now it's available as a zine that is going to be titled Beyond the Park. It's going to come in here. It's 68 pages, all sorts of new adventures to add to the setting, all sorts of new magic items. So yeah, some really cool things there. Shout out to my two brother-in-laws who helped me put that together. Um, but yeah, it's gonna
Yeah,
come it's gonna come in the box with art by the amazing Alex Damasceno, Gnarled Monster on social medias. This is just a mock-up of what the box is gonna look like. But yeah, very very excited about this, and again, we just want to say thank you so much to everyone who helped make it possible. It's Yeah, we're just so excited. Hugh, do you have thoughts or things you want to say just in closing?
extra thing just about the stretch goals.
Yeah.
We've sort of mentioned a couple ones
Oh
we've
yeah.
got to. Yeah, but there's actually we're adding a couple more stretch goals that aren't on the page yet, but we'll add those on after this, and we'll send out an update about it. So one that actually we've already hit the goal
Yeah.
is adding those paper minis, the standees we said Penflower Ink is doing. Those are going to be in full color. So you'll get black and white and PDF and color PDFs, but then the ones in the box will be color, which is exciting. So that's there already. But those two that are locked, we're going to change the values there slightly up. They're going to be up a little bit, but one of them, and I think we said 26K,
Hmm.
is going to be every backer will get 2 months free membership on Tiny Tales. Every single backer. So no matter how many hundreds of backers we get, we've got 450 or something right now, whatever it's at. 440, 447. You'll get 2 months free Tiny Tales membership, which means you'll get access to whatever we release those for those 2 months, plus the whole back catalog as well. So everything there. And then the other stretch goal we're going to unlock, which will unlock at I think 32K. So that's a little bit further away, and let's hope we get there. It's one I'm pretty excited about. It's going to be a little bit more exclusive because of what it is. So we're going to unlock a new pledge tier, where you can pledge at that tier and you will be able to play a live game of Mausritter within Rolling Coast with us. So we'll do 2 games. Matt will host one, I'll host the other. 4 players in each. So it's limited to 8 people because of that. So it's quite exclusive in that sense, but that's just because there's a limit to how many people you can have playing a game, and how many games we can feasibly run.
Right.
And if you're already pledged, you can always change your pledge to that one because you can change it anytime during the month. So it doesn't exclude people who have already pledged. Anyone can be included. So we'll unlock that pledge level at 32K. But what we'll do, just to make it so like it's live and everyone hears about it at the same time, we'll send out an update to say it's now live, and then we'll make it live for people. So there'll be sort of a ability to go do that.
A countdown, you might say.
Which I'm very excited. Another countdown. We like countdowns. So yeah, that's I'm quite excited about that. And look, hey, if we get past that, maybe we'll look at more stretch goals beyond that. I don't know, but we'll see. I'm very grateful for everyone who's backed so far. The amount of support and everything has been amazing. And yeah, I'm just excited to get this into people's hands, and I'm really excited for those live games. It'll be really fun. So I
Yeah.
kind of hope we do get there.
Yeah.
It'll be really fun to play with. We'll do them on video call and all that kind of thing. So it'll be all online, and we'll schedule times when we get there. So we'll figure out what that looks like. Yeah,
For
exciting.
sure, for sure. Well, hey, if you haven't yet and you see the end of this video, go back Rolling Coast, back all 16 of the projects for Mausritter month, and I just pulled up here on my screen Mechritter, and it is it's getting close. It's gonna be there. But again, here's a super awesome mech supplement that I think you should back because I think it will
Yeah.
augment Rolling Coast so well, and Rolling Coast will give
Mm.
even an expanded setting to use these mechs in for those who back this. So go back this.
Yeah.
Yeah, on behalf of Hugh and 10 Acre Games and Matt and ManaDawn Tabletop, we just want to say thank you for joining us. And yeah, we'll see you over on the Backerkit and the Mausritter Discord. Feel free to jump in there, ask Hugh and I any questions. We would be super excited to say hello to you. So hope you're all having a good one,
Yeah.
and we'll talk to you later.
Cool. Cheers.